Another Saturday morning, always a delight to bring you the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun, your host on the program. Well, today our focus will be on the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections, taking a look at that in retrospect to x-ray and analyze some of the issues that have come to the front burner. It's no longer news that President Muhammadu Buhari has been re-elected for a second term of 4 years. And just yesterday, members of the Federal Executive Council paid him a courtesy visit to congratulate him and felicitate with him. And guess what he said? This next 4 years will be tough. And for you to get details of that, just check out some of the dailies, national dailies, will find that story there. President Muhammadu Buhari receiving members of the Federal Executive Council yesterday. Should I call it a warning? Will I be comfortable to call it a warning, or just to advise that his second term will be tough? He revealed that while having that meeting with members of the Federal Executive Council. Of course, you know that the man has been re-elected for a second term, and we're looking forward to what that second term will bring. Among those present at the meeting were the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibanjo, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, Head of Service of the Federation, Winifred Oyeta, National Security Advisor, Babagana Moguno, and over 20 ministers. According to the President, my last lap of 4 years, I think, is going to be tough. People are very forgetful, and that's why during my campaign, I spoke about our cardinal agenda. Recall that President Muhammadu Buhari was declared winner of the election by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, on Wednesday after he polled 15,191,847 to thrash his major challenger Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, who polled 11,262,978 votes. That's one story that is trending on major dailies across the country right now. Okay, we'll take you to another story, which of course broke yesterday, with the duo of the governor of Ogun State, Ibikunle Amosun, and of course of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, being sanctioned by the National Working Committee of the party, talking about the All Progressives Congress. And Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha yesterday said that the national chairman of his party, actually, as a matter of fact, accused the national chairman of his party, the All Progressive Congress, Adams Oshomole, was against him because of 2023 presidency. Okorocha was reacting through his chief press secretary on his suspension from APC by the National Working Committee, challenged Oshomole to be prepared for him, and that the suspension will not be effective. Of course, you know the duo have been in a running battle with the party in their respective states. They have governorship candidates in different political parties, and then their party have different governorship candidates. Well, the party did say in the heat of the build-up to the 2019 presidential and National Assembly elections that actions will be taken against Rochas Okorocha and Ibikunle Amosun for what they described as gross anti-party activity. So let us see how that pans out ultimately. And we'll look at this story that has to do with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. INEC chairman has already concluded plans to conduct supplementary elections on the 9th of March for National Assembly polls that were inconclusive. That will be coming up on the 9th of March. Of course, you know that the next round and the last round of elections will be on 9th March for governorship and state Houses of Assembly elections. So the supplementary elections for those national assemblies declared inconclusive will also be carried out on that day. Well, that's just some of the top stories we're following up on the political scene right now. Let's welcome our panelists for the program today. I'd like to thank very especially Professor Kingsley Moibo from the University of Benin Sociology Anthropology Department. Thank you, Prof, for coming.
Thank you very much.
We also have with us in the studio a councillor, a politician, civil activist, Harrison Ezeko. Harrison, many thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's start this way. The 2019 election, particularly the presidential election, is come and gone, is won and lost. Would you subscribe to that, Harrison?
Well, in every battle there must be a winner. The Nigerian people have spoken, and they have spoken very clearly that they believe in the performance of the incumbent president, and they have voted. He have been announced. They won the election very squarely, and is returned elected. So I think what is important now is that it should begin to look inward. The areas that they don't measure up, even as a party, the mistakes that were made before need to be corrected. You know, when the man won in the first time when he came, he was saying that I can work with anybody. It was a very last statement. But the implication of that statement he never knew. I think he saw the implication with the Saraki saga and everywhere. They made the administration almost ungovernable for him. I think this time around the party needs to correct their mistakes. They need to sit down. We have serious majority there right now. They need to sit down and get those who are ready to actually join the president to change the present situation of this country, so that you can put the right people there and they will get maximum support. Not people when the president say let's go this way, they say it must be this way. They have their own personal agenda. Thank God many of them have been retired politically from their various states, and it's like that. You see, you think people are not watching you. When you see yourself become a demigod, and you think you are the ultimate head, a time will come, people will tell you enough is enough. Okay. So I think that very strongly, you need to sit down and need to listen. That I can do this is no longer there. All right. Let the support of the party.
Let me pursue there, yeah. Prof. I like to get your thoughts along the lines of the conduct of the election, and then the reactions that have trailed the elections. What are your thoughts?
I think the first, I must congratulate the Nigerian people for a peaceful election. If you look at the build-up to the elections, the country was tensed. There was tension, there was fear. If the Nigerian project was still going to be the same as what we are experiencing today. So I will congratulate them, congratulate Nigerians. I congratulate INEC for successful conduction of this particular election. And I will equally congratulate specifically the chairman, who had the guts. The guts, I use the word guts because it takes courage to be able to do what he did by postponing the elections when he was not sure that it was going to be successful. So for now, in assessing it, I think it's got a pass mark. And we congratulate the president too. And we are going to enjoy more of what you said by saying that he said it's going to go tough this time. My colleague has just spoken about the ambiguity of what statement he made in his first tenure. And the second tenure, I think he's trying to crack down on certain issues and be very circumspect.
Okay, Harrison, the election has raised a couple of questions, particularly as it relates to the conduct, especially with discrepancies of results. In several instances, you have results being announced not reflecting the true situation, particularly in terms of number of registered voters, number of accredited voters, number of people who actually voted. You do all the plus and minus, they don't add up. Isn't that a dent on the credibility of INEC and even the outcome of the elections?
Well, first, let me make it clear that the only body they have the responsibility to announce result is INEC. Any other calculation elsewhere is an exercise in futility. They have no right. Whatever they are calculating, you are calculating your own. The result INEC announced is very clear. They have the responsibility. They conduct the election. If you have a separate, you go to tribunal. You don't, in the social media, it was very clear. People put so many things there. So we tell you, so even when results have not come, people have said they are announcing result. I saw when somebody bought 1.2 million from River State, you know, before the result came. So people have right to do whatever they are doing, but the people saddle with the responsibility to announce result is INEC, and INEC have announced the result. Any other party that is not satisfied with what INEC have done, whether they are party to the election or not, they should go to court and prove it. If otherwise, that INEC have compromised or not. For now, INEC have done their work and they have announced the result and they have declared winner. So every other person, the next stage is that if you are not satisfied, you go to court. We'll wait in that time and see how the litigation will go. That is the way I feel it should go.
All right, Prof, you wanted to say something in that regards.
Sincerely, I think we have a problem with social media. And like he said, who is saddled? The institution saddled with the responsibility of announcing result is squarely on INEC. And so, and the INEC boss, in the case of the president, and of course, in terms of the National Assembly, we know that you can do that right here, you know, at the state level.
Yeah.
So, you see, people capitalize on the negative benefits, so to speak, of the social media. And most of us are very, very, very partisan. You know, the build up to this election, if you take a build up to this election, you discover that a lot of severe, inflammatory words, provocative from even government officials, those whom are in the saddle of leadership were indicted in all of this. So you could see that, you know, we have the freedom. In democracy, you have the freedom to speak, but of course, within the limit and the ambit of the law, the regulations. And so, whatever result that were peddled in the social media, in the print media, in the so-called any form of the media, that's why I say, personally, that even the mass media itself, some of the television houses, even were indicted in some of this sort of reports. So what do we need to do? We need to understand that there are rules, there are regulations that guide certain processes, and in the case of INEC, it's supposed to be INEC until proven otherwise. If you go to court, at least they signed the peace accord and they all knew what the Electoral Act specifies in terms of how the elections should be conducted from the beginning to the announcement of result. And that's why I say that we should give it to the INEC chairman, who was unruffled, committed, organized, you know, focused. For the first time, you saw, you know, the head of a particular institution handling a very sensitive matter, and you knew what we were expecting. Like I said, high government officials, low government officials, everybody was involved in one issue or the other. We had the one that we heard from Kaduna State, without mentioning him. We had the one, you had the Zachary issue, build up. These are build up. We heard the Onoge issue, the Chief Justice, days to the election, and people became so suspicious that is there something wrong? What is going on in Nigeria? Suddenly there was a resurgence of the Leah Shaibu, you know, request that she should be released, as if the government in power was not doing nothing. And of course, we heard another issue.
Maybe because they're not seeing those things being done.
We're talking about the build-up. Yeah. Then, of course, the president made certain remarks that ballot boss snatchers should be dealt with ruthlessly, and that was even misinterpreted by the social media. And people said he said shoot aside. We didn't hear shoot aside. We said deal ruthlessly, and people took that as if something is wrong or devious from what he said. But of course, you notice that this particular issue of ballot box snatching even came to the barest minimum in this particular election. It was not as bad as it were in 2011 and in 2015, because you have to read the Riot Act. Nigerians were very complex people. We are complex people, and we need a complex leadership that should be able to act and enforce. At least, let's leave it at that. And of course, you equally knew about the threat of the Boko Haram, you know, and the headsman crisis. So these were built up. There was the issue of the INEC chairman who told us that he extended, you know, the grace for collection of PVCs to Nigerians, and some Nigerians still didn't go collect it. And the ones that were left, he said, okay, mop up and send to CBN, you know, for keeps. And people have some other parties, I don't know parties generally, or stakeholders, political stakeholders, most of them raised issues of misgiving that they want to sell the card, or possibly they want to use it to jinx the results. So we are so difficult, but at least sometimes we should look at what are the U functions of such policies. So the build-up was high, so we were scared. There was tension, there was fear that Nigeria was going to collapse, Nigeria was going to tear apart. But we thank God, and we thank the religious people, we thank the market women, we thank even students, whom of course still came back to do the right thing.
If you just join us, you're onto Politics Today on independent television and radio, looking at the 2019 election, presidential election and National Assembly election in retrospect. As usual, our studio lines will be open, so you have the opportunity to air your views and opinions and express yourself on the outcome of the election. All right, but that will be coming up in the other half of the program. Well, the election is still ongoing. I mean, we're expecting the governorship and State House of Assembly elections by next Saturday, as it were. But one major aspect of the election that people have been talking about is, should the PDP candidate go to court or not go to court? Some have said there's no point going to court because the ruling party has already done what they needed to do to checkmate any eventuality of going to court, with the crisis rocking the Supreme Court following the suspension of the CJN and all of that. Let me get your thoughts on that, Harrison.
Well, it's a personal decision. And whether they are going to court or not, I think let them go. There's no problem. I don't think anybody is going to victimize the opposition party when they get to court. The election was won squarely. If you see the way the result came, you on your own do the analysis. You understand that even in West, we're talking about, it was divided, dragged. The result came from the East because of Obi, who is also, because it's from the area, they were being troubled. And if you go to the core north, where Atiku is even in his own time, Adama is the core north, where he struggled to even get a few votes to say he won the state. You can remember that he lost his unit. Not even with 50 votes, over 100 and something votes, to tell you that the Northerners hold this man, Baba Buhari, they see him as a god. If you see the results, if you see the way the thing were coming, it was just, the victory came from that angle. And so, if he's going to court, and he have his, they say you come to, must come with clearance. If you have evidence that this and this happened, you go to court. The issue of whether no girl was removed or not will now affect justice. I think that is a proper lie. Or no girl had issue. Whether the issue came before election, after election, it has to be dealt with. The man, there was evidence that's involved in the financial crime. And you don't expect the president to sit down and allow things to work, to just go like that. And he had been figured before now in some area with the Dubai meeting they had. And so therefore the president have to act, and the agency will, okay, go ahead and do your work. But for now, the man have to stay outside, let somebody come in, because you cannot be a judge in your own case. Every time I hear agency say, because it's a judge, if you commit any offense, they are able to discipline, but the person must remain there. How can you be a judge in your own case? In law say no judges in cases, so you can't be a judge in your own case. The man cannot remain there. You expect justice to come. The same person is one of that distribute the lawyer to different courts. So also, therefore, you need to stay aside so that it can be investigated. I want to assure Nigerians, I want to say this morning, that have nothing to do with the tribunal. It has been set up, Nigeria will follow it up, they will follow it. If anything is going to happen, Nigerians and people are very aware. You cannot just do things this way and think you will get away with it. And that is why you follow that in this election, for the very first time, the election was not militarized. Military were not in the polling units, except in the area we call distress court. That's never happened. The last election, every junction to military were everywhere. But Buhari stood his ground and he asked the military to stay in their offices. It's only when there are distress on areas like a river, you see, okay, let us, because of the volatile nature of the people in that area. It wasn't the military thing. You just see normal policemen on the polling unit with that gun. At the end of the day, people are complaining that things did not go. It must not go the way you plan it. That's what I keep saying. Politics is not played on social media. People do their whatever do. No, it is on the field. It is reality. What happened 24 hours before the election, a few hours before the election, determines the result of the election. And I want to assure Nigerians that everybody should be rest assured. Nobody will be victimized. The president is a decent man, is a man that believes in the rule of law, and he will follow it.
Okay.
To me later.
Let me pause you there. Prof, people have been talking about major upsets in this election, particularly leaders of state in the ruling parties and even the opposition party. We've seen a lot of upset. People losing senatorial seats, people losing the hold on their states. I mean, are we saying that the political values of these people were actually exposed in this election?
I think that let's come to Edo State, where the national chairman of the ruling party, hails from. He didn't have majority vote. I mean, for the presidential election.
Yeah.
And of course, he didn't have 3/3 senatorial members. He didn't have all the National Assembly seats. I think that's an attestation to the objectivity, near objectivity, or close to something realistic in the results that were declared. And of course, you know that there were senators, there were even former governors who ran in their states, who were serving senators, who were from the ruling party, who didn't even emerge. The same thing applies to the other party. There are those who ran away from this side to the other side. And of course, you see that there is truly a major upset. And that's why I'm saying that, look, if we tend to question what has been released as result in the presidential and National Assembly elections, and get it very straight, Nigerians are, not all Nigerians are even aware that there's a National Assembly election. The focus is on what? The presidential. And so you see, that is where the media, like I said, the media comes in. The National Orientation Agency should come in.
Okay.
Because those who are even closer to us are the senators, are the what? National Assembly members, the House of Rep members, before it comes to the one we're expecting on the 9th.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, some people didn't even know if certain individuals were even contesting. So some people, some legislators who did so well lost out. Why others who did so well equally were voted? And you could see that, at least if you look at the plus and minus, the degree of variance, it's minimal. So I am saying that whereas there cannot be a perfect, system to run a perfect election, not even in the countries we mention as our forebears, like America.
Yeah.
There are times where, it drags. Donald Trump's election dragged over 1 week in terms of 2 or 3 states, the Florida state and one of the states there. So what I was saying, we should at least applaud that there is a progress, there's a positive progress in terms of what we're saying. The major upset is to tell you, if the president of the Senate could lose, and of course look at the other man, let's be very frank, look at Dino Melaye, he won. In spite of everything that Nigerians said, the man has been tormented, the actor, I call him an actor, and a dramatist. But of course, the idea is that he won, irrespective of the feud between himself and Bello, the governor. Then you look at, Akwa Ibom. That is another instance. Come to our state here, where we thought that at least there would be, a major upset. It's like saying that a principal lost in his own unit, because we're talking in terms of variance. So to a large extent, we should commend INEC. We should say that let it be better. The people should be conscientized to know that it's not only president that you are going for. The president is distance away. If we don't have those that connect us, that we think we believe could do the job, then we're going to run into trouble. Okay. But overall assessment, I think I still make bold to say that they have tried, but it's not Uhuru yet.
All right, Harrison. Yeah, the upsets in the particularly the National Assembly elections, state governors, some state governors who contested, like you said, lost out, and those who did well lost out. Those who didn't do well, some lost. I mean, they got victory. Some of those who did well also got victory. What do you make of these upsets?
You see, that is why it's democracy. I want to take a clue from Edo State. You see, our people were very, very, let me say, some of them were aggrieved with this Buhari syndrome. Like Prof have said, forgetting that we have other persons who were running for election. Like in my units, in the history of that unit.
Why were they obsessed with the Buhari syndrome?
There's a way we have issues in this part of the country. We don't look at issues squarely.
Those issues they
also help issues. I am in a church where pastor said everybody should go and vote for Atiku. And they came out with that impression, forgetting that even some of the persons that lost elections, even a member of their church. Like in my unit, in the history of that unit, the number of nobody used to win there is 130, 90 something. So it shocked me to let you know that the victory of that place was almost about to 400. And I saw more than 5 pastors, one big church who came with 22 members of his church to come and vote. And even in the discussion there is Buhari must go. It took as if they have the power, they can just pull him off. And these people didn't know that Buhari is just a single entity. If you vote for Buhari, you have other 2 persons. And they were just doing it one way. Buhari, in as well as Atiku, PDP are true. At the end of the day, you can see the one that surprised me. My brother from Obaka, EJ, who is a performer. Who people everything they say we're opposition. Even the person contesting with it, they don't even campaign. Because the man felt that this man was just too much for me. He had done so much. When the result started coming in, people were surprised. So, like Prof said, we need to do more sensitization and conscientization of our people. The hype on the presidential election was just too much.
Okay.
People were just saying, no, this man must go, this man must go. Nobody bothered to understand that these other persons that go with them. And I think that, for me, I would suggest that the presidential election should be separate.
Okay.
Because this Harvard effect have happened over and over again. Because since it's one day, those who love him will go one way. Those who have an issue with him will also go the other way. Telling their people that, no, if you do well for president, you not go to the other party and do this all perform. Nobody have that time. And you saw when the result was coming. If the result here was not real, this is the base of the national chairman of APC. As powerful as others of Shomole, the result was declared that PDP won this state about 7,000 votes. I'm surprised people will not tell you that the election was ringing in North. It was ringing here. Do you think that the people, they don't have capacity to turn the election on that day? Because why? The president have said, let the will of the people decide. If Oduoga will lost the election in Delta State, and then declared he lost the election, Akpabio will lost the election in Rivers, in Akwa Ibom State, and then declared he lost the election. Heaven did not fall. But they begin to hear people that the election was, they ringed it, they did this, who told you, because it didn't work the way you wanted it. So in Bala, what I'm trying to say in summary is that we need to sensitize our people. That when you are voting, you vote based on performance. And the presidential election subsequently should be an election on its own. Let the president come first. The National Assembly should be conducted on there so that this issue of Are people going one way, removing those who feel that they're supposed to represent the people very well? They will not be the ones to suffer just because of they are seeing one man as being negative. But I know from the beginning that whether you like it or not, the victory of Buhari is going to come from the core north. And that was the issue. And every time I come here, when some of my colleagues, I will tell them, go and sit down. These people believe in the integrity of this.
That would suggest to me that the South, particularly the leadership of the South, are irrelevant in the scheme of things. I mean, if you insist, like you've maintained in the past, that the victory came from the North, that puts these guys on this side.
It's the population.
Yes,
politics is all about numbers.
Yes.
It's the population. They have the population, and they are more politically informed than us. Let me tell you, sir, in a dozen wherever social media, registered voters, how many of us voted? If you had the two figures, is it up to 500? It's not up to. Only one result from one, no, we cover about 3 states in the South. That is the truth.
Okay.
The man in the bush who is going after a cow is more politically informed than a master degree in the South. He knows what it takes to go and vote. He's ready to trek 3 months to go and vote. But here, people will tell you that in America, just because of some arguments, so people went to what it concern me.
So are you aware of some of those videos of underage?
Those are not true. That's social media and this thing.
Those are social media. Yes. I want us to get this point straight. If you look at the 2 candidates from the North, nobody has started killing. Everything is silent. Forget less that the age demographics of the 2 cardinal candidates at the presidency are septuagenarians. 72, 76. The both candidates are equally Muslims in terms of religion. Both candidates are from the core north. Both candidates are Fulanis. Both candidates equally had military and paramilitary experiences. Both candidates have socio-cultural relationships, which of course you and I know that one of the sons of the principal is serving under APC. One of the other from APC is serving under PDP. So the point here is, and we have these 2 major political gladiators, which of course reduces to 2 political parties that are gladiators. And like what my colleague just spoke, he mentioned, we are not conscientized in this part of the world. The average northerner listens to VOA every morning, to VOA every evening, more informed in terms of the social politics of this country than those of us from the South. So what I'm trying to reveal, therefore, is to answer the question that I am sure that our political leaders from the South here are not united. That is one. They are divisive, and they sow that discord in the followership. There is nothing wrong if you campaign, go one man, one vote. Don't, be sarcastic. Don't be virulent with your words. Don't be provocative. Don't be, inflammatory in what you do. But listen, go and vote. The average market woman here, let me tell you, if you go to the North knows, forget less that we have 92 or 3 registered political parties. And 73 went to the field. Some of us over here do not know the difference between the APC logo, the PDP logo. I don't even know the logo of AA. I am just saying that as a literate person. You have 73 on the field. And now you're telling, but over there, they can distinguish clearly between one and the other the moment they are told. I don't want to use that kind of words, but Fela said, for once they speak, everybody what follows. So they know you know the difference. But here, go to the market. We're so confused. Go to the market woman. Go to even our youths. that are like us. Yeah. Some don't even know. How many of us know 6 names of those who contested the presidential race? Talk less of, like what I said, the House of Assemblies, the House of Rep, the House of Senate, and all of that. Remember, Akume lost there. Yeah. If there is one person that possibly, that the state, if there's a state machinery, if they wanted to influence INEC like they thought, the man, they should have been Dino Melaye. Yeah. But Dino Melaye won convincingly, and it was declared without any impairment, irrespective of all the drama that led to that. So what I am saying is that we need to be conscientized. NOA here, the National Orientation Agency that is saddled with this responsibility, and some of the media houses should be able to help, conscientize all of us, mobilize us. The mobilization starts now. They don't wait until it's 2 weeks or 1 month or 3 months to elections. The moment after now, they are already thinking of 2023. And to come back to the question, to embellish what he mentioned earlier, there is a strong possibility. Going to court is a matter of personal choice and the party's position. Okay. If the party decides and he is sure, if the party takes a decision and is not convinced with the party's position, he might also say, well, I am not going to be a partaker, but if it...
I wanted to also get your thoughts on some of the thoughts canvassed that we need to separate the presidential election day from that of the National Assembly election day to remove the bandwagon effect. I'm sure this is something the National Assembly saw ahead, that they wanted their election first. They wanted it separately. Yes. So it's really coming to limelight now.
Yes. The implication of not doing it right is still a problem.
Okay.
If that needs to be taken and the Electoral Act is to be amended, my take would be that the presidential election should come last. The presidential election should come last. Then all other elections, depending on how you are going to do that, there's no way you can tell me that Governor Obaseki is not going to feel somehow that he didn't give us more vote. I mean, gave APC more vote, because I'm not a politician. Yeah. There's no way he will not feel averse. So the point is, if all the National Assembly members goes for the election first, although maybe, it's one form of strategy that will be better soonest. I think so. That must be revisited, because I noted it in my write-up that at least there should be time frames for everything. And another thing that is very disheartening is the longer period with which litigations are tenured. It starts, and even midnight to elections, you will forget you get judgment. And if you have judgment, how do you now take out one and put another at that particular point in time? So just the way you say the tribunal runs, 90 days for gubernatorial for decisions to be taken, you file the papers. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that at least the sensitivity of the law is what we should be socialized into. Okay. Let them do it in such a way that if it is 3 months after the primaries, settle this
once and for all. So we just have a clear-cut direction.
Clear-cut direction that this is whom we are going.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. It's State Politics Today on Independent Television and Radio. Of course, just now we open our studio line 052-290-573, 070-836-51320. Don't cast aspersion on our panelist. Hello, good morning, caller. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Bishop from Sabugiara.
Bishop, good morning. Thank you for joining us on Politics Today.
Wishing you a happy new month.
Thank you.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, this election, the presidential National Assembly election, it was a very tight election. Tight in the sense that both the PDP and APC, they really garnered votes. And they were able to win as many states as possible. Look at the case of APC. APC won in 19 states, while PDP won in 17 states. I think this is by far the closest elections we have witnessed in Nigeria. So you talk of even the PDP getting up to more than 11 million votes. That is fantastic. So as far as I'm concerned, looking at the closeness, I don't think there is room for somebody to have any doubt. And as your guest there have rightly mentioned, even at those states where the national chairman of the party is from, PDP won majority in the district. So, judging from that, we will not talk of anything that has to do with reading. But I will say, Atiku Abubakar, he has every right to say that he wants to go to court. If he has enough evidence,
okay,
he should go to court. But to me, my answer to be that he should just forget about it. There is time for everything. Thank you. God bless all of you.
All right, Mr. Bisa, thank you for the views that you just expressed. Hello, good morning. What's your name and where you're calling from? Good morning.
This is Idahagmon calling from Saple Road.
Idahagmon, thank you for joining us on the program. Please go ahead.
I have 3 questions I would like to ask your panelists.
Okay.
By profession, I'm a data analyst. So that means my job is to look at the issue and analyze it critically.
Okay.
To the first one is to the prof. While he was talking, he made mention, he said we had less ballot box snatching during this presidential stroke National Assembly election.
Okay.
My question as a data analyst is, does he have figures? Can he back that up with facts and figures? Number 2, the second question goes to Mr. Harrison there. While he was talking, he made reference to the suspended CGN.
Yes.
And he said he committed financial crime. That means he has already made a pronouncement. And you see, if we are on air, we must be very careful. He said he committed financial crime.
Okay.
The next question is, which financial crime? And it should be noted that there is a difference between opening a foreign account and having a domiciliary account. What he had is domiciliary account. So that's matter for the court. But I think it should withdraw that statement. Because if he says he committed financial crime, that means the man is already guilty.
Okay.
Then the third question, the third and final question. He also said, the president believes in rule of law. Please, I want him to juxtapose this vis-a-vis the issue of Sambo Dasuki with several court pronouncements. The man is still languishing in jail. And that of El Zazaki.
Okay, Mr. Dahagmon, I think they got all the questions that you raised, and they're very much willing to respond to them as much as they can. But is that all your contributions to the program, Mr. Idahagmon?
Yes. For now, like I said,
can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think of the opinion that we need to separate presidential election from National Assembly election? Maybe host them or hold them on separate days to avoid this bandwagon effect.
I think I honestly support that. So it's because people should come into power on their own merit, not riding on the bandwagon effect of some other personality.
Okay. Mr. Dagmo, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on the program.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, maybe we'll get a panelist to respond to some of the issues raised by our last caller, Mr. Dagmo, and then we'll continue with the phone-in segment of the program. Beginning with less of ballot box snatching that Prof raised. He raised the fundamental question: how did you come to this conclusion?
If you listen to me, I hail from Delta State, for instance. Not much was reported about ballot box snatching. The only problem we had, even in Edo State, we didn't hear much about ballot box snatching. We've done a lot of studies in all of this. But you know that what happened in River State and maybe the other in Bayelsa were not simply bus nation. That was clear cut, criminality. So the point is, if he wants data, we can give him data later.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Reduce drastically.
Yeah. Harrison, the statement that the CGN committed a financial crime.
Well, I didn't say commit. I said alleged.
Yes. Okay. You are rephrasing that.
No, it's alleged.
Harrison,
that's what I said.
You are rephrasing that now.
It's under investigation.
Yes.
If somebody did not declare the full amount in his account, it's financial crime.
Is that confirmed by a court?
No, he confirmed with his mom that he made a mistake that he forgot.
But the matter is still under litigation.
And court or not getting himself. He said he forgot. I mean, you have accepted.
Agreed.
We all live in this country. I mean, he said he forgot.
So if
we leave it to the court.
If you say he's already guilty,
I didn't say guilty. I said he was alleged.
That's the point.
And he himself came out to say that he forgot. That means he have agreed. There's no ignorance in law.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it to court to the court to decide.
So that's
the issue is that's not what he said. He's trying to say that. I don't know what I'm saying that he cannot. He who come to play must come with clearance.
Yes.
The man himself came out to say that he forgot. There is no ignorance in law. Let me see how he's going to get justice in this country. The issue of when he talks about those are exceptional issues.
You said another one again. Let me see how he's going to get justice. That's conclusion. That's the point he's making.
Listen, if you gather your magistrate together,
yes,
for a man who was alleged, who came to accept that he forgot, is there anything I forgot in law? I did business law for 2 semesters. So if I'm talking authoritatively, that's why even if you gather the magistrate together in this whole world, he will not get justice.
They won't save him.
No,
so you've already
agreed.
Let's bring in another question that he asked, which has to do with respect for the rule of law.
Yes.
Respect for the rule of law.
The references
that he made.
Yes, those are exceptional issues. The reasons are very clear. Those are exceptional issues. People tend to want to refer to one area. There are some certain things that when this thing happen, even if it come at that particular, if you allow that medicine to just go, you're going to cause more problem. Those are exceptional issues.
Okay, so let me put us so we can take more. We can take more calls and get more views. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
It's from Igwebe.
Okay, from Igwebe. Lucky from Igwebe. Please go ahead.
Okay. As much thank you, people, for the...
Please, could you speak up a little bit so we can hear you? Just try and speak up a little bit.
I said we appreciate you for the program.
Thank you.
And concerning the presidential election, it is good that it should be over when they are conducting presidential election and the National House of Assembly.
Okay.
Before the result will come out, people will also decide who they will vote for.
Okay.
And that one will make us to have a good legislator who will lead this country for a better Nigeria.
Okay.
Then the other side of it, election cannot be held in every year. To me, this is the most peaceful and best election ever conducted in this country. And apart from that, conservatives can see in one aspect of the country. But the most surprising thing is for me to observe that the area that is there is an anarchy in the country. They have the highest votes. Whereby an area where they have the major registration of voters and the figure of the people there who came out to vote are few in number than the area where we have crisis in the country. And such is very abhorrent.
Okay.
Besides that too, when we are saying the Northerners are more politically oriented than us, I don't believe that. It's just because of their nature. They can easily be cajoled by some cabals. Not that they are better than us. They don't have that orientation the way we are. It's just one way. We should look at it decisively to know what is causing the problem of them having the major block of votes than the South.
Lucky, thank you for the beautiful thoughts that you just shared. Good morning, caller. You're live on Politics Today.
Yeah, good morning, Sonny Jikokoso.
Yes, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Osai. Osagie Igide. I'm calling from Benin.
Okay, Osagie, just try and speak up a little bit so we can also hear you.
Okay. I want to first of all give a thumb up to Honorable Councillor there for his sound presentation. But I quickly want to stress some facts here. The issue we have here in the South is that most of our electorate here concentrate more on campaigning on social media, and they don't have the time to come out to vote on proper election day. And in the South, sometimes in the states where you have like 1.4 million registered voters, the total number of accredited voters in the South, most of the cases, happen to be less than 25%, and in some places 30%. So in a state where you have like 1.4 million voters in the South, at the end you see 500,000 people coming out to vote. So these are some of the challenges we have in the South that have gone a long way to affect our statements in almost all elections. Now, the North are politically active more than we in the South, but we are far, far more educated and permit me to use the word than them. Reasons are not far-fetched. The North happens to benefit from most of the political structures because they are larger in numbers in terms of registration, they are larger in numbers in terms of accreditation. While the folks right here in the South spend all their time campaigning on Facebook, on WhatsApp, and on Twitter, and name it. That's on one hand. Then on the other hand, I think scheduling the presidential elections on one day and the national election is cost effective for the country. Because taking into consideration the amount the government is spending at the moment in funding the elections, before that the elections are combined, running to billions of naira. So separating the elections will have a very huge financial implications on the government.
Okay.
And apart from that, you are aware that once there's an election, the economic activity of the country is brought to a standstill.
Yeah.
So by the time you don't have 4 elections in 1 month in a country, you are doing the presidential election on one day, you are doing the assembly election on that day, you are doing the governorship on that day, you are doing the state house on that day. You might end up grounding the economy of the country. You are spending more and all that. But I think that Nigerians, we are getting there. The last election was grossly successful. We have pockets of violence around there, which is usually some cases associated with elections. All right,
let me stop you here because my time is up. Thank you.
Generally, the last elections was peaceful, and the issue of rigging should not be brought into play because even.
All right, thank you. I'll stop you there, gentlemen. As we call it a wrap, perhaps like some have suggested, one way to checkmate the cost of funding election will be electronic voting, but that's a matter for another day. The president, while speaking with members of the Federal Executive Council who came to congratulate him, told Nigerians again that the second term is going to be very, very tough. Judging from where we are coming from and making that kind of statement, is there any hope in terms of changing the state of affairs, the economy, the security, the fight against corruption, and all that we have seen? We've seen season 1 or part 1. We're going into season 2 and part 2, and the president is saying it's going to be very, very tough. What do you make of this, Harrison? Let me start with you in 1 minute.
The tough Mr. President is talking about is not talking about the economy is going to be tough. The tough is all geared towards Nigerians who want to do things the wrong way, including the APC member.
Okay. The
man is not coming back again. So people have been saying that the fight is also exceptional. You are going to be seeing member of the party being arrested. So that is the line. When you talk about tough, that is the area it's going to. Okay. But I know that the economy, by the special grace of God, will get back to the economy, will balance it, and Nigeria will move on forward.
All right, Prof, your final thoughts?
My final thought is that when he said tough, I'm sure it's still going to revisit the 3 cardinal plank in which he was elected in the first tenure. And he made mention of the fact that they should pray for him in terms of his health. So that's to tell you that I want to do the right thing in terms of security. I want to do the right thing in terms of the economy. I want to do this right thing in trying to fight corruption to the letter. And like I think Harrison mentioned, I am sure that is going to drive in this, the corruption drive is going to haunt his own even more than the externals.
Okay, so
and I wish him luck.
Expectations are high that he matches words with action in terms of ensuring that things really go to the next level in terms of the economy, in terms of security, in terms of the fight against corruption. There is a drastic change so that life can be more meaningful. Things can actually turn around for the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. On Saturday, 9th of March, the next round and the next and the last round of elections, State House of Assembly election. Please ensure you come out and cast your vote. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
That's it on the program for today and for this week. Be sure to join me on Monday on TMI, and we'll be looking at this issue more. Thank you for staying. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.